All right, everybody. Miss Cleo here. I am back again. Yep, this is the second video of the day, but this is a subject I've wanted to talk to you about now for almost 2 weeks. And just as a reminder, if you haven't gotten this book, get the book. If you are interested in kingdom marriage and you are ready for God to bless you with your kingdom husband, because everything I'm writing about, talking about, the Holy Spirit told me to tell his daughters. So this book is for the ladies, but if a man is reading the book, watching the videos, you can learn something too, okay? If you want to get the book and when you want to get the book, go to the About Me tab and the information is there and you can purchase the book directly from me, okay? Please give this video and all of my videos, when you watch them, give them a thumbs up, subscribe, post it on your page, tell a friend. Practical information that you can use today. For the ladies, you really need to hear this information. The wisdom is not only from my experience in failed marriages, but also teaching of the Holy Spirit directly to me, and he told me to share it. He said, tell my daughters, quote unquote. And that was in 2006. It took me until 2023 to write and publish the book. Okay. So anyway, today's subject is preparation. Now, I'm not talking just preparation for kingdom marriage, but I'm talking about preparation on your move. Okay, so when God manifests your kingdom marriage, not only has he called you to prepare in here, probably most likely prepare here, you know, body-wise, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, economically. He's called you to prepare, and relationally with others, how you see yourself confidently, and also for your move. Okay, so for me, I bought my own home, first home, in 2020. I know without a doubt it is not my forever home, because I don't even want to live in the state I live in, let alone in the house I live in the location where the house is. It's no bueno. Okay, my home has been a blessing. First, second, it's given me grief. Third, it's been actually a lot of work because the seller deceived me. Anybody who bought this home that I bought would have been deceived, and that's terrible. Purposely deceived. So when I then went under contract to buy the house, it was me that they ultimately deceived. And why do I say that? Because I walked into a house with things that I found out within 2 hours of living here that were not good, not right, just you deceived me on purpose. And as a first-time home buyer, I hired an inspector and he missed the things too. He shouldn't have, but he did. So anyway, I say all that to say, I know without a doubt this is not my forever home, because this is not my forever location. This is not my forever state. And the house is not conducive for me to be married and live here and have anybody else live with us. And I have a daughter. And when you are newly married, you're supposed to consummate your marriage. You would not want to consummate your marriage in my house. You would not want to continue your marriage intimacy in this house. No, you would not. You got to wait till people are gone from the house. Okay, it's just looks big, and it looks kind of like a little dollhouse. It's small. So for me, it's like another fail and a settlement in my life. However, it is, on the other hand, a very good thing that I bought a home, because I have something to bring to the table of the marriage, right? And the sale of this house, which it will be sold after I'm married, or maybe even before, who knows. When I'm ready to sell this house, I will sell this house better than I bought this house, in better condition, in better shape. And the property, everything that me and my baby daughter have done around this house is fabulous. I've planted trees, fruit trees. I've actually planted a vineyard at the guidance and the direction of the Holy Spirit. I've planted rose bushes. We have a garden, which, gardens, turn them over every season, right? We've done some basic landscaping. People drive by my house. When I first moved here, people would drive by my house and say, and literally stop when they seen us working outside and say, "Oh my gosh, your house is beautiful. You've done a good job outside. We always see you working outside, doing something, and you've done an excellent job. It's beautiful." I actually had one man that say, when you get done with this house, when you sell this house, I'm buying this house, okay? But I'm not the kind of person that's actually going to deceive you. I'm going to fix those things that have given me grief since purchasing this house 3 years ago and made me literally cry. Like, one of them had me crying just about 8 days ago. Just ridiculous, okay? But I'm a DIYer, DIYHER. I'm a DIYer, and I will do what I need to do to make it happen. It's just ridiculous, okay? The deception. So anyway, this home, what we've done to the outside of the house in planting the vineyard and planting all of the fruit trees and planting all of the rose bushes and flowers and all that stuff around here, around the house, and making it look beautiful outside, definitely. It's too much work to rent out this house. You have to sell it. You would not expect the renters to come and mow the lawn. No, you wouldn't. You would not expect them to fertilize, cut back, keep up your beautiful fruit trees. And though I've been here 3 years, fruit trees take 5 to 7 years before they bear fruit. Literally. The peach tree, my little peach tree, was already 2 years old when I purchased her. So her first year in the ground, she bared 3 peaches. And actually, I think it was 2 peaches. They were good little bitty peaches. So since I've been here 3 years, she was already 2 years old. She's 5 years. She had tons of peaches this year. And I didn't know to spray, dormant spray, if you will, to kill any bugs that are burrowed into the branches and the vine, the branches and the tree bark. You do that in the winter time while she's sleeping, which is dormant. She sleeps for the winter, hibernating, I guess, right? And then they come out as the sun gets warm. The bugs that are burrowed in, wake up. Their eggs hatch. and then they begin to burrow themselves inside of your fruit as your fruit attaches to the tree, of course, and they burrow right in where you would pop the, pick your peach off. And so every time the wind blew, we lost a handful of peaches, a couple dozen, until there was only peaches left that the bugs had actually had stuck to the tree, stuck to the leaves, and they weren't gonna fly, blow off or drop off very easily. So I lost those peaches. I know better this time. Oh yeah. So we've planted quite a lot of stuff, and I'm excited about it. But again, you would not want to leave your home that you've done all this landscape, all this work outside to a renter. You want someone, and at least I want someone, to buy my home that is going to glean from and be blessed from the vineyard that's in the backyard and all the fruit trees that I've planted. So to tell you what I have 2 apple trees, 2 peach trees, a loquat tree, a nectarine tree, 2 blueberry bushes. I have what is that tree? Oh, I have a lemon tree. I have rose bushes. I have 3 pine trees up at the front. I have 2 elderberry trees that I planted, and then I found wild ones in my backyard. I have there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different, 5 different grape vines, but 5 different types of grapes, but 6 vines. Okay. 2 of the vines are the same. I have 1 plum tree. That's what I was trying to remember. 1 plum tree. Loquats take at least 5 years before they will even be tall enough. Apple trees take at least 5 years. Now, when I bought my loquat tree, she was about this big, and so was the apple tree. The apple tree's over your head. The loquat tree, I would say the apple tree is about 8 feet, 7 or 8 feet, but still young, very young. The loquat tree is probably 2 feet tall, still after 3 years. Okay. The lemon tree was about 7 feet. Last year I bought her in year 1. She was about this tall in a bucket. I bought the lemon tree and the orange tree. Orange tree died almost immediately, and I've never seen another one locally. But the lemon tree got about 8 feet last year. The frost the frost killed her pretty much. Lo and behold, just about a month ago, where I pulled up the apple tree, the lemon tree by the root, lo and behold, all of a sudden, there was, in the midst of my wild mint growing, the wild mint is just growing all over this one space, right, where I had the lemon tree. And lo and behold, when I pulled up the mint, there was a little lemon sapling tree about this big. Needless to say, I had actually, a month or so before that, went and bought me another lemon tree sapling. So I'm not planting it in the ground, and I'll tell you why later. But the other one is in the ground from the root of the lemon tree that the frost killed. So this is her root that came up with another sapling. So that was a blessing. Okay. I also forage. And so in foraging, I have, there's some abandoned property that had an old, beat up, abandoned, nasty trailer on this property. But they had this really, really big and mature gardenia plant over there. And I don't know if you call it a gardenia bush or a gardenia tree. This thing looked like a tree. So I cut off pieces, pieces, some branches and twigs to try to root them. And we actually, there was a smaller root. Well, there was a smaller branch at the bottom by the root base, by the ground, and we hacked it. Me and my kid hacked it in half, and we were able to get just a small piece of the root. And I showed it to my neighbor. She had a friend come over right at the time I was showing it to my neighbor. Look, I got these, and I'm going to try to grow these gardenias. And I'm not calling the lady the devil, but I'm saying this is how the devil works. When you're onto something, he really does do this. He really will try to convince you that you can't do something. So I showed them all the cuttings in the bucket, and I had a lot of branches, that we trimmed down, cutting from this hacked off piece. And immediately, this old lady, she says, oh, I've tried to take some cuttings and I've tried to root some gardenia. She said, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to root any of it. You'll never be able to do it. I said, oh, really? And she said, yeah. She said, it's just not going to work. I'm telling you, it ain't going to work. I don't know who the lady is. And I told my neighbor and this lady, I said, well, watch me do it. She said, you think you can? I said, I know I can. My hands are blessed. And I hope yours are too, by the way. But my hands are blessed. The Holy Spirit told me that several years ago. And my dad told me that when I was a little kid. Did I believe my dad? I don't think I did. Do I believe the Lord? Yes, I do. Is it a confirmation of what my dad said to me? Yes, it is. Has it manifested, and can I actually see it with my natural eyes? Yes, I can. For the gardenia plant, I'm going to take you off from here real quick, and I'm going to show you one of them on my deck. You're right there, and another little one right there that I just recently put in there last year, but she's been in there now for about a year. She was in the ground, not thriving very well, started to die. I pulled her out and put her here. But there's two there. And right up in this cup is some of the cuttings that I just took from her recently. And then I have a big, beautiful one that actually was the very first cutting. And it flowered 3 beautiful white gardenia flowers about 2 months ago. I want to say it flowered in about the end of April, first part, end of May, I'll say, first part of June, because we're now in August, and it's about 2 months. And then, so there's that one that's way over there at the front tip of my yard there where I have like a little flower patch. It's looking rough right now because everybody is getting hot, okay, from the sun. And I actually never plant water over there very much anymore. And then I took another one and put it back over here on the corner of my house. And it's only about this big, and it flowered. Now this one up on my deck is bigger than the little one that flowered. But she should flower next year. And I'm excited. And then this little bitty one I just showed you that's in the green container, I am going to take it and put it here over in the corner down here where I've just pulled up the Montgolier tree. that I did not plant, just Montgoliere just started growing. And so I pulled up the Montgoliere. If you know about Montgoliere, they make tea out of the leaves. It's good for coughs, I guess, congestion, chest stuff. It's Louisianan, I guess, New Orleans, Louisianan, Montgoliere. And they call it Montgoliere tea. Anyway, back to my subject and point. Rose bushes. The first year I moved here, I planted 9 rose bushes. 1, 2, 3 survived. The second year, which was 2021, I didn't plant anything. 2022, no, it wasn't. 2022, I didn't plant anything. Yes, I did. 2022, I planted no, I did not. I did not plant anything in 2022. It was 2020. Bummed me out after all those expensive roses died. And these 3 roses survived, which are called blockout or something like that. Knockout. They're called knockout roses. 3 of them. They're the only ones that survived. The 3 knockout roses, which are really small. They're really small. They're definitely for the home garden because you never buy those looking roses at the store, so I don't care for them too much. So again, in 2021, bummed out, so I didn't plant any. 2022, I didn't plant any roses in 2022, but this year, early year 2023, I planted another 8 roses. And out of those 8 roses, I believe, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to say 6 out of the 8 survived. And I could be lying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 8 actually survived this year. The one I really wanted, which this lavender colored rose, it did not make it. There are specific colors that I wanted to plant at this house, and I'll try again next year when they bring out the roses. Specifically because my mom had beautiful roses, and when my brother sold the house after my dad died, my mom had planted those rose bushes in the 70s, like 1971 or so. Sold the house in 2004. All of her rose bushes were still alive, and 2 of them were about 8 feet tall, fully bloomed. Amazing. I live in the South now. That was in the West. And I remember her roses, the colors, and it kind of drives me to have those things that she had. The colors of the roses that she had. And I loved seeing them then. And they meant a lot to me then, you know, for my mom to do that to our yard. And it was beautiful, you know, forever. And it means even more to me now that Mama's gone, you know. And I think she would be proud of what I've done. Now, we didn't have grapevines when I grew up. We didn't have we didn't have a nectarine tree. We didn't have blueberries, but we did have an apple tree. We did have a peach tree. So I've gone a little bit further than my mom gone on this property, okay? I'm a forager, so I've driven past homes in my neighborhood and got out in the ditch and pulled up what they call elephant ear plants. Those things get all over the place and they crawl and they pop up in different places, but they look good. I've gone into a field, me and my daughter, and pulled up other flowers and planted in my yard. I went to the yard of a burned down house and I pulled up, we dug it up by the root and split the roots, planted them in every single one of these it was called Carolina Spice Bush, or Carolina Spice. Smells so good. And I had planted about 7 or 8 of them. I didn't think they had come up. And so the one did root. I didn't think they had rooted. One of them did root, but I didn't think so. So I dug it up. So when I planted it back again, it didn't make it. But I do have one. One survived. Just one. So this year, I'm probably going to take some cuttings from it and see if I can root it. It didn't bush out or anything yet, but she will. And I have to leave her here, but I'm taking them with me when I go. So I say all that to say this about preparation. I know for a fact that God has sent my ordained husband, and it is only a matter of time for manifestation of our introduction, our nuptials, covenant, and marriage. I know it is a matter of short time now, because this is my marriage season. First of all, I told you in this house, it's not big enough for marriage couple to be intimate. No, it would be, to me, more disrespectful to my daughter. You don't want anybody to hear anything, not even a squeaky bed. Nothing. It's nobody's business. It's private intimacy between a couple. This house is not appropriate for that anywhere in this house. First of all, okay? Second of all, preparation-wise, in knowing that, realizing that, feeling that, this home is what I bring to the table. One of the things I bring to the table. That's mine alone to bring to the table. Okay? And it's pretty darn good to bring to the table, because it ain't no 10-cent house. Okay? When it comes to preparation, you can't take the vineyard with you. You can't take the house with you. But there are things that if you want to take them with you, you prepare now for. So beginning this year in 2023, I stopped planting things in the yard. I still buy things. Like if I see a grapevine, a different type of grapevine that I want, I'll buy it. I'll put it in a big old pot and let it grow. If you know about grapevines, it takes 3 years for the grapevine to mature enough to bear fruit. Okay? So, I have several grapevines in a pot. I'm going to try to name them off for you guys. I have a Himrod grape, which is a green seeded grape that is actually planted in the front yard. But I have a purple, real dark purple grape that's called Spanish Black. That is a wine grape, that is sitting in the front yard that I've just trimmed down off the trellis wire. Another story. Anyway, I trimmed her down, but she's in a pot. She will go with me to my new home with me and my husband, and then she will go in the ground. Okay. Now, other grapevines that I have in the pots are Concord grape that I pulled up out of the ground because she was struggling. So I pulled her up. I thought she was dead. I was going to throw her in the trash. She had a little bit of green root on her. Put it in the pot. It took her probably about 8 months, and she peeked up with a little leaf on her. And now she's sitting on the side of my deck down below, but she's made it to above the staircase now where the railing is. That Concord grape will go with me. I have another one that's called Sunbelt that I recently, literally just bought like a month ago. She will go with me. She's a dark purple grape as well, which is another wine grape. I have a green Scumpernong, which is like a muscadine, but it's a Scumpernong. I have a muscadine, which is a Carlos, which is a green muscadine that I dug up because it was in the ground for 1.5 years, struggled. So I just dug it up. I was going to throw it away. Same thing. The root was still alive. So I cut it all the way to the stump. Because it was growing last summer, made it up to the vine and then died back. So I had to cut it back, and then I thought it was growing, but it just sat there. So I said, forget it. You know, this is expensive real estate here. You're either going to work for me or you're gone. Okay? So I dug up this Carlos, which is green, muscadine, and boop, all of a sudden I looked up one day and there was a little green leaf. So now it's about this big and growing beautifully, but it's in a pot, not going back in the ground. Why? Because again, this is part of my preparation. Okay. I'm excited about those. Now that I have my the lemon tree that the frost killed, the little twig came up. There was 2 saplings right by each other. I left the big strong one in the ground and I took the side one off and planted it. It has now rooted. Guess what? That lemon tree is going with me. I bought a second plum tree this year. That plum tree was already 1 year old when I bought it, so this finishing out this year, it would pretty much be a 2-year plum tree. Again, it takes 3 to 5 years for them to bear fruit. Notice how I'm getting a jump on what's going to be in my forever home with my husband, what's going to be on our property and in our yard. Are you following me? Preparation. The plum tree, I did with this plum tree, it's in a pot. But what I did was what I seen the nursery do. At the nursery, they have a whole bunch of sand and dirt, right? So what he does is he leaves all of the pots, all of the trees in their pots. He digs a hole in the sand and dirt and puts that pot down in there with the tree. So they're growing roots and all of that, but it's going through the holes in the bottom of the pot. Okay? So when you buy a new fruit tree, he has to dig that pot up and that plant off. And sure, you're losing the roots underneath the pot, but all the rest of those roots are in that pot. Okay? So then you take this, take it to your home. You're You're going to take it out of the pot, which you're going to split that pot so you're not killing your roots. And you're going to put that tree in the ground. You feel me? That's what I did to the plum tree that I have. All my grapes are just going to stay in their big pots. The lemon trees are small. Now, I cannot tell you it's going to be this year, next year, the year after that, 2027, 28, 29, 2030. I don't know God's timing, but I do know that this is my marriage wedding season. I do not know how long a season lasts. I don't know how long yours lasts. Yours might be shorter than mine. Mine's been a long season of wait. Okay? However, I know to prepare now. Okay? I know to prepare now. The gardenia plants, guess what? They're going with me. Any rose bushes that I have bought, they're already in the ground. That when you buy a rose bush and they're alive, they're going to bloom that season. I don't need to take any of them with me. I don't need any cuttings. I don't need none of that. Okay? In my muscadine vineyard, there are, I want to say 11 muscadine plants, 10 different types of muscadines. Some of the growth is really good. There are 3 or 4 that have grown very, very nicely. I am taking cuttings from my muscadine vines this winter, the ones that are strong and thriving. Taking cuttings from them, at least 12 different cuttings from each different type that I want to take to my house, to my forever home. Okay, that will start my vineyard. My muscadine vineyard. I'm going to have a muscadine vineyard, and I'm going to have a grape vineyard. My grape vineyard will have wine grapes. My garden will have table grapes, and there is a difference. Wine grapes are smaller and sweeter. Table grapes are, they can get big old clusters, okay? I have already taken cuttings of my one very vigorous growing grapevine. And to share this with you again, I'm on Facebook, Grape Growers Group, Muscadine Growers Group, 2 different types. Those are 2 different things. Muscadines are not grapes. So, 2 different groups. Kind of do different things with muscadines than you do with grapes. Grapes are not as strong or disease resistant as muscadines are. Muscadines have some health attributes to them that I believe is supposed to be 10 times stronger than the nutrients that you can get from any grapevine. So if you're interested in growing grapes, great. If you're in an area that's a warmer climate, grow muscadines. They're more disease resistant, and the health benefits are 10 times as more powerful and potent as grapes. They are doing research on muscadines to heal cancer. Okay? I'm just saying. With everything that I'm growing now, anything that I can root from, I do. Now, my plants that are above me right here, I have one plant. She's now 4 around me, and I'll show you. She is, well, I take cuttings from them. My mom showed me how to do that. Take cuttings from them, put them in water, let them root, plant them in a pot. That's where these other 3 here have come from. Okay? Of course, my plants are going to go with me. In the winter, you got to take these guys in the house. Then spring, bring it back out when it's warming up, right? I will take the canna lily that I pulled out of the ditch. I will pull it out, pull a piece of it out of my flower bed over here, and I will take it with me. Okay? The elephant heads that I pulled out of somebody's ditch, I will pull some of them up. It's so easy. You can just pull them up by the, pull them up and the root will come up. Put them in a pot and just let them grow. Okay? I have some irises that I dug a few up out of there was a burned down house at the end of my street here. Burned down before I moved here. And I went over there, I'm always walking and driving by it. And so went over there and I just pulled it. It came up the root. I came back, planted them in my yard. I didn't know they were irises. They look like, how lilies look, the leaves of the lilies. And so it took one year. Let's say I pulled them up in 2021. They bloomed in 2022 and they're yellow. Guess what's going to happen? Well, actually, guess what happened? I planted one on the left side of my garden, of my front staircase, one on the right. I planted a few around on the other side, on the other deck, right? On the sides of the other deck. So the one iris that was on the left side, when I split her this summer, probably about a month and a half ago now, she turned into 5 bunches. We started with one, just like strawberries, they just increased and they were just right by each other. So I split them. The one on the right, she had another like 3 or 4 or 5. So 2 has turned into, by the time I got done planting them all around the sides of my house again, I had about 14. And I just went ahead and kept 2, the really little ones, and put them in pot. Put them in little flower pots. And so they're still there and they're growing. They love water. So I say all of that to say this. This is how you prepare. And I am preparing. Why? Good grief, because it takes so long to wait for fruit to grow on a tree, and I ain't getting any younger. I want my trees to already be growing up. While I wait, I will let things begin to grow and flourish. You can always, when you're keeping your trees, get a big enough pot so they don't totally get root bound, right? Start the smaller one, get her bigger, get her